Hello. Hey, Elise. Janelle is going to be hosting this training, and she looks like she's connecting, so we're going to give her just a minute.
Valerie, you look amazing.
I sound like, oh, I have a voice for radio today.
You do sound better than I thought you would.
I just did a ginger shot. Have you ever done those before?
No.
It's disgusting, but Darlene's making me do them. It's like, because I have the thing on, it's these like little, anyways, you get them from Publix. It's an immunity thing. And it's got ginger root, lemon juice, pineapple juice, and cayenne pepper. It tastes like orange juice with sriracha in it. It's disgusting.
Really?
But as soon as, yeah, but it's supposed to help with your immunity. And as soon as I take it, I feel like it totally clears you out. So there's that.
I need to get those.
Yeah, they're awful but good.
All right, so you're the host, correct? Do you want to make me the host?
I don't think you should be able to share regardless.
Oh, I can? Okay, that's fine. Elise is going to get a private session here.
Regina and Kim are coming in here too, or Kim's here, but Regina's coming in. Let me know if you're having problems sharing.
Nope. I'm trying to figure out how I can share. I'm trying to figure out how to do my PowerPoint presentation without, because I have my notes in there.
Oh, gotcha.
Slideshow.
I'm actually feeling a little better today, so there's hope.
Oh, back up. All right, so I think I can do it this way. Share screen. All right, is everyone seeing that? Okay. Hey, Regina.
Hey.
Pam Bradford was writing to me during the general meeting and singing your praises.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, she's good. I was like, you must not know her that well. No kidding. All right, Elise, what school are you from?
I'm at Belmont Elementary in
Oh yeah, our new one.
Belmont, Sun City.
Very nice, very nice.
I'm in Apollo Beach, so I don't ever remember what city the school's actually in. Yeah. It's our first year.
Yes, yep. You got Melissa, I think, has been to every single activity that we've had for county this year.
Probably.
And state. I think she's done everything at state.
I keep getting voluntold to go to all the ones that she can't go to. She's like, I'm going to this one, so you go to that one and bring me notes. I'm like, yeah, okay.
That's a great thing, though. All right. So have you been involved, by show of hands, have you guys been involved with a nominating committee before?
Nope, but I was volunteered for our one next year.
Hey, you'll be fine. You'll be really good. All right. So basically, we're going to go over the whys and the information that you may need for this. The reason why is it's required. Bylaws are going to be your guide for everything. So you want to make sure that you are, as an officer, you always have a copy of your bylaws in any binder, any meeting you have, because that's going to be your reference. So it is required, as said by the, sorry, I'm trying to move you guys around so I can read my screen. It's required in section 3. It's basically to give all members of your PTA an opportunity to know what positions are available and run for it. You have to be a paid member of the PTA to be a member of the nominating committee and also to run for a position. And unlike voting, someone can come up and pay that day to be a member, to be able to join the nominating committee or to run for a position. When you're voting, you have to be a member for at least 1 month before you are allowed to vote. It's basically to prevent anyone from stacking an election if there's any sort of contention at the local unit. The nominating committee must meet or be elected at a general meeting by your general PTA membership at least 1 month before your general meeting that the elections are held. So more often than not, it is held at your January, February meeting, which you saw just before this one. Once you have it, you have the option of doing either 3 or 5 people. And when we go, so that we'll go through the ABCs of what the nominating committee is. And this is literally pulled from the bylaws. So the black is word for word. So the nominating committee composed of 3 or 5 members. The numbers determined at the association's regular meeting at least 1 month prior. And then the president will appoint a pro tem for the first meeting. So that you can either choose 3 or 5. So if today we only had 4 people say that they wanted to be part of it, we would have only gone with a 3-member nominating committee and 1 alternate. You always need to have an alternate for the fact that I am running for VP of to run for areas next year. If I'm on the nominating committee, I cannot be included in the discussions for the position that I am going to run for. I would excuse myself from the room and have the alternate come in. Kelly, welcome to the discussion. We just started. We're going over the bylaws as far as what is needed for the nominating committee. And anyone that is a member can be part of your nominating committee except the president. Your president is an automatic member of all of your committees within the PTA except for the nominating committee. They cannot be part of the nominating committee or be included in any of the meetings. The reason why you have an odd number is to break any ties if you're voting on what your slate of officers would be. So you saw earlier that Veronica was appointed the pro tem. When we have our first meeting of all 7 of us, we'll discuss who will be the chairman of the nominating committee. That chairperson will be responsible for getting all of the information together and will actually make the presentation of officers at the general meeting where the vote is being held. To know when yes.
Janel, I'm sorry, not to, we just ran into this issue last year. I'm not sure all 7 are supposed to meet at the first meeting. I think you just need to clarify that. I'm not going to say that I'm the expert. I just think that maybe you need to get some clarification on that. I don't think the alternates are supposed to meet until we need an alternate, but just get clarification on it.
Right, the alternates can meet. They're not supposed to be part of the conversation until they're pulled in for that office that they're discussing.
Okay, I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I remember that, but
yeah.
that's that's the big thing, is they cannot be part of the discussion or be recognized to speak in the meeting until they're needed for their, to step in for a member that is not, that's running for an office. But I'll definitely get clarification.
Yeah, last year we were told they weren't supposed to meet with us at all until we needed them. So just get clarification.
I will, no problem. All right, so the next section is B, is the nominating committee shall nominate one person for each office to be filled and report its nominees at the election meeting. This is why I'm not a teacher, because I can't read it all. All right, so how do you know what positions you need to be filled for your PTA? You need to have a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. Those three you have to have regardless of what your bylaws say, because some PTAs have an off year and they may not have the ability to fill the 3 vice presidents, but you need to have at least your president, treasurer, and secretary voted on by your general membership. Nominations can be held from the floor. This differs from county. At county and state, you need to notify 15 days before if you plan on running from the floor. But at local units, you're able to run from the floor. A quick note on the positions that are listed. You'll see that there's actually a guideline in your bylaws again. It will say how many vice presidents you need to have, when your monthly meeting will occur, and then what the actual first VP will do, second VP, third VP. You'll be able to see all of that in your bylaws. That will be your guideline. When you get ready to have your first meeting, be sure that you have a copy of the current bylaws. A lot of schools have changed them since this past April and May, because the new bylaws include being able to have virtual general meetings. So be sure you have the current copy. This will be your guideline as to what positions you need to fill. If you're able to, also get your parliamentary procedures and your standing rules, because there might be additional information in there as to the roles of each position. So if someone is inquiring about it, or you're asking someone, it does say in the bylaws what these positions do, but your particular school might have additional activities or assign some of these activities to different officers. So that's a great guideline to have with you when you're having your discussions with who would like to join. You'll see here that it says a recording and a corresponding secretary. You just have to have at least a recording secretary. You do not always have to have a corresponding secretary. If you're a big school that you're able to have all of these positions, possibly 7 or 8, that's great. And if you're a big school and you want to add, there's a position for the 3 vice presidents here. If you wanted to have a 4th or 5th vice president, you can actually handwrite those in your bylaws and send those to Florida PTA to get approved. If you want to change your terms, right now, a person can serve in one position for 2 years. Every year they have to run again. They don't automatically get their 2 years. There are some schools that change their bylaws to make it 3 years, because somewhere like a middle school there's 3 years there, sometimes it's easier to be in a position for 3 years than to change out after 2. But again, those would have to be approved by Florida PTA. When you we'll get to the elections later. So the first step usually is to go to your current officers and see. Kelly, I don't know if you can mute, or Valerie, if you're able to mute. Thank you. All right, so C in the bylaws of the nominating committee is only those persons who have consent to serve, if elected, shall be nominated. This is important because if say you're in a meeting and you have someone that always comes and we're like, Kimberly said she wants to be part of the nominating committee. If she is not there to accept that position, she is not considered part of the nominating committee that will be voted on. She could, if you're sitting there and she sends a text and says, yes, I accept the nomination, that can be shown to the during the meeting. It can also be held up to a camera if you're on a Zoom, and as long as it's Kimberly that's accepting that nomination, those can be done also. She can also write in person ahead of time if you know that she is willing to do this, then she can send an email ahead of time and say that. All right, so if you saw that during our meeting that we had a tally that happened because we had 7 people, 2 of which ended up being alternates, but we had to have a vote on that. So you want to be sure that you have the ability, if you're doing it electronically, to do the poll. That is something that needs to be set up through the Zoom link beforehand to make sure that you have the ability to do a poll. And if you're in person, you want to have someone that is going to be has a paper to write down the names on it, and for each of the members to write their names down on that they would like to have as the nominating committee. And then they collect those papers and are able to tally it. They will not be included in the vote to allow for them to be non-biased. Members of the nominating committee may be elected to office, and this is where you run into your alternate stepping in. So if you have a parent or someone that is on you that is always volunteering at the PTA and they don't want to make a commitment, the nominating committee is a great committee for them to be included in. And more often than not, they end up stepping in, and they think that they don't want to take a role or they can't do a role. When they're in the nominating committee and they see what these roles are, they end up being able to put their name in and feel comfortable with it. It's also kind of a committee where more often than not, if you're not filling the roles, it becomes a voluntold, and someone in the committee inevitably ends up being on the board that had no intention of being on the board. But it all works out in the end. So, but when we're talking about the 3 or the 5 nominating committee members that are elected, they will be discussing each position. Any of those nominating committee members that has offered up their name to be elected into a position needs to excuse themselves from the conversation when it comes to that position, because if there's multiple people that are running for that, they cannot influence the conversation at all. That's when your alternate will step in. And before that, as discussed, the alternates are not part of the discussion until invited in as a portion of it. So all of these guidelines are found on the Florida PTA website. And so you would go to floridapta.org, PTA leaders, nominations and elections. These are all clicks. So when you get to Florida PTA, up on the top, you'll see the leaders, and then under leaders, nominations and elections. And then all of these have handouts. So the election meetings, it has how to run your election meeting, there's a typo there, procedures for the nominating, and then the information you need for nominating committee. And then it actually has, this past year, they put the wording of what should be said during the actual elections. So once you get your slate of officers, you would run through this written out transcript basically of how you would run your election. So if anyone is leery about being the chair, point them to this area, because they might not be really excited about being a public speaker, but it's literally paint by numbers. You insert whatever you need to, and you can read from a script. so you're sure that you don't miss anything. All right, so how? If you're wondering how you're going to do that election meeting information, that's going to tell, under Florida PTA, that gives you the exact information you're going to need as to how to run the election meeting. You're going to need to make sure that your secretary has your current membership list for the last 30 days, so that only members for the last 30 days are able to vote. Something I meant to say, but I forgot about, is that at a local unit, some of the schools have a president-elect that has been listed. The president-elect is not a position in a local unit. So if your local unit has that position listed and you guys voted on it, that should be eliminated going forward on your elections, because they do not have any position on your executive board or your executive committee, because it is not recognized by state or national PTA at a local unit. So, and we've had this in the past year that a president has stepped down because the president-elect does not technically have voting rights or is not a member of the board. They do not step into the president position. It's the first VP that steps into the president position and can serve out the term there. If anybody has any questions on that, you're more than welcome to get with me separately, because I know it's really big in high schools and to have a president-elect, but it's not, again, recognized as a elected position at all. I know I kind of ran through it quick because the morning's a little bit off. I don't know if you guys have any questions about this, but here's my contact information if you need to email me or give me a call for anything. I also put Frank on there because he has been in the VP of Areas position before, and he has participated in a lot of the state and local nominating committees. So if both of us can give you any information you may need regarding that. Let me see if I can stop sharing my screen. All right. I know some people came in a little bit later, so I'll open it up for discussion if there, I know it's kind of quick, but if you have any questions, let me know.
I think it's just really a good idea to just kind of go over through the steps. So if I'm hearing you right, the first step is to have your February meeting or your meeting where you nominate your committee. People
Correct.
need to either nominate themselves or be nominated by somebody else, and they need to be able to accept it. So that's, number one. You also need to, number two, set a pro tem chair. When the group meets, they can vote and choose their own chair.
Yep.
And then step number three, they need to review the bylaws, the standing rules, any information about the positions that are at that local unit, and find the people that are best suited for that. They can choose to do that through some sort of, hey, fill out a Google form, or, kind of gather those candidates to vote on. The alternates don't vote unless they are nated, because someone who is on the nominating committee is also up for that role. And then three, or I guess 4 or 5, I don't even know what step around anymore, but the last step would be presenting that at the election meeting with the script from Florida PTA.
Correct.
Does that kind of wrap it up for you, Janelle?
Yes. Yep. So after you actually are elected as the nominating committee, the first meeting you should have everyone, you should either do it in Zoom, or if you can in person, do it in person. So you kind of know each other and you can vote on who's going to be your the chair of the nominating committee. After that, the big thing is you can do it through emails, or you don't have to always have everyone together to meet. So my general rule of thumb too is to contact the current people that are in that position and see if they have been there for less than their maximum they can serve, ask if they want to serve in that position again. And that kind of gives you a starting position with that also. At one of the local units, we have a Google Forms that was sent out to the membership as a whole, and the principal put it as a link in a text so people can go on there and express their interest. If you create a Google's Forms and you put on the information as to what positions are, maybe you add something that says, if you're not interested in holding an elected position, what interest do you have? Because there's plenty of chair positions that can be filled. Someone might not want to make a commitment as an elected position after reading through it, but if someone clicks on there, they have some sort of interest in being involved in PTA. And they might be better suited for helping you as a homeroom parent, or as a teacher liaison, or as a business partnership. They might, so see what their likes are, what their interests are, and how they might be able to help. That gives you a starting point for filling the positions that you don't already know someone within the normal PTA meetings that you see.
Janelle, just a point of clarification. Does the nominating committee fill the chair positions?
They do not. So you're strictly doing the elected positions that are outlined in your bylaws, which will be your president, treasurer, secretary, and then whatever vice presidents are listed on your bylaws. So but know this also, when they're holding their meetings, you might have to revise your bylaws, because some of these schools that might have had 4 vice presidents listed in the past might not be able to fill these positions. And you have to have quorum, which is 50% plus 1 in any meeting. So if your PTA has 8 elected positions, but you can only fill president, treasurer, and secretary, even if all 3 meet, they never have quorum to vote on anything. So whenever you're doing your bylaws, don't overestimate how many vice presidents you might have. Those people can be chairs. And as you build your PTAs, you might be able to add those VP positions, but they're not as important as the chairs, because again, when you have your executive committee, you want to make sure that you have quorum when you have your meetings. Elise, you have anything in particular you have a question on? Kelly, I know you came in a little bit later. Did you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. You said no questions? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right, no problem. Erica, do you have any questions?
Just one, pretty easy one. Chair positions are not considered part of the executive board, correct? When counting towards my quorum?
Okay, this is the one that always gets it. The executive committee, executive board always get me. I don't know. So executive board, and Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong. Executive board is with the chairs.
Executive board is with the chairs. Executive committee is without the chair.
Just your elected officers. So your EC, when people say EC, that is just your elected officers. Your executive board would be your with your chairs.
And Erica, my monthly meetings is just executive committee. And we have 10 people on the executive committee, which is a very large executive committee. So we just do majority. So that would be 6 as far as having quorum. And then when we meet quarterly as an executive board, we count, majority for that. I can't tell you the number because it's a lot of people.
Okay, because yeah, our committee meets every month, and we're pretty much the decision, because our chairs are so scattered. I don't think we've ever gotten them together, maybe at a general meeting.
Right.
But we're going over the bylaws, we're updating our standing rules, And I just wanted to make sure that our language was correct.
Yep.
Because obviously we've been only counting the committee for our quorum.
Yeah, just, and your standing rules, my suggestion, and Janelle, you can totally correct me if I'm wrong. In my standing rules, I refer to everything as executive committee, so that way
Okay.
that's what's counted.
Okay, and that's exactly what I wanted to make sure that there
I
wasn't
don't know,
any
Janelle,
issue.
does that sound
Yeah.
kosher to you?
No, definitely.
Okay.
And Erica, with your executive board, you would always, it's going to be the same with quorum. So you don't always want to put what you hope to fill as board positions or chairs, because if
Okay.
you don't fill those, they all count against your quorum when you have.
I would, that's a good point too. So like the chairs that you need to fill every year, right? Like you need a carnival chair, let's say, or something like that.
Right.
You know,
Homeroom.
right, homeroom. Fill those, but you can always create chairs on the spot. Like if you decide to do some sort of like, oh, we're gonna have a family fun night and we want a chair, you can create those on the spot. You don't have to consider that part of your, it's the standing committee chairs that are part of your executive board.
Okay.
Am I saying that right, Jenna?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, because I don't even know if we, I'm just a few pages into the standing rules. I'll have to see. I don't even know if we listed out any, because we do have not many, but we have like just a couple of chair positions that are pretty standard year to year. But they've been things like fall festival. So I think we've
Right.
always just been like, oh, it's fall festival. Like we've never, because I don't think I've ever gotten the executive board together, because we do have a lot of chairs. Like you said, we create them on the fly.
You create them on the fly. I would just commit to standing. Like Janelle made the example of like a homeroom mom or a homeroom dad or something like that. That would be more of like something I would consider standing versus, I don't know, the fall fundraiser or something like that.
Okay. Oh, and
fundraising chair would probably be a year-to-year standing chair, but maybe the fall fundraiser chair falls under the fundraising chair, and you don't necessarily want to make that.
Yeah, because
a standing chair.
And I guess what we do is like, so say homeroom parent, we've had so many troubles over the years with the homeroom parent liaison. We just said it had to be somebody on the committee, because they would be, 1 year we'd knock it out of the park, and then the next year the person would flake, and we just got tired of it. So we were like, no, and I'm actually writing that into the standing rules that like just for that particular chair, we request that it be committee.
Erica, I'm happy to share Lowry's standing rules with you if you want.
Thank you.
I'll email it to you later. Okay.
Yeah, we're updating ours to PTSA. So I was adding, and that's, I know that is one of my questions. So we're about to add some students onto our committee, but we didn't know if we should just add them as chair positions on executive board or add them. They're not really elected positions per se, but we also haven't done it, so we don't know. Like I'm working.
Well, students are more than welcome to run for the positions.
Okay.
The big thing is going to be when you guys meet. If you have to take that in consideration, because if you meet, I think most of you guys, a lot of times you guys meet in the mornings, but you want to make sure that the kids can be involved with that if they're on your executive committee.
Okay.
And it might be, I don't know if you guys, I know you're a new K-8. I don't know if you guys have done at Buchanan, I'm at a middle school. We did, whoever the student body president is a de facto onto our board. So I don't know if they have any positions like that. So that is our automatic.
Yeah, we just added 8th grade this year.
Yeah.
So in January, actually, we finally added a middle school teacher liaison. And so we're working with her and the principal, who used to be I think he came from Benito, but we're working with him to make sure, like, we don't want to interrupt student learning time, of course. And then I know next year they'll have the student government up and running. And that was my thought, was whoever the president was. But I was also kind of envisioning, because we added the middle school liaison to the committee, we thought that the students could be chairs underneath her. They were always welcome to the committee, but that they wouldn't count against our quorum in case they couldn't attend, is how we were thinking about writing it up.
Yep, they could be sub chairs. Yep.
Okay.
That would work. I know, let me get you, do you know Melissa Fields? Have you been in touch with her at all?
No, where's she at?
She is up at Turner Bartels, but she is the North Regional Rep. And
Okay.
I will get you in touch with her because she has been at a K-8 for a long time.
Oh,
she-
that would be so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
And Valerie, thank you for sharing your standing rules. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem at all. Okay, so we've got 1 minute left before we move on to the next session. I'm gonna be the timekeeper. I'm gonna keep us moving.
No, that's good. All right, so is there any general questions at all? If not, we'll let you guys get a break to get another cup of coffee or something. All right, thank you guys so much for joining our session. And again, if you need this information, it's being recorded. It will be on our YouTube site. And
Our wonderful YouTube channel that Janelle watches all the time.
yeah. Yep, that's it. And then, but also if you have individual questions, you're more than welcome to call me at any time. And most of my emails have my phone number in there. So that's the best way to get in touch with me, or any questions in general. So I thank you all for joining us. And I thank Valerie for helping out. Kimberly was my wingman also. So
Thank you, Janelle.
yeah, no, thank
so
you.
much.
You're welcome. And we'll see you at the next session.
Okay.
Good luck.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thank you, ladies, for the refresher.
Bye, Regina. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. Bye-bye.